Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a story that's been brewing in the world of Formula One that could change the sport as we know it. Imagine this: a reigning champion, pushed to his limits not by his rivals on the track, but by his own team controversies and the politics of the sport. Yes, we're talking about Max Verstappen, the unstoppable force of F1. You might think he's untouchable, destined to dominate for years to come. But what if I told you that his career might be on the edge of an unexpected twist? A twist that could see him leave the sport sooner than anyone could have predicted. Trust me, you'll want to hear this story to the very end, because there's a lot more to this than just another driver's frustration. Now, here's the kicker: there's a hidden path that might just lead Max to an entirely new future, a chance for a fresh start, and one final championship run before he exits the scene for good. And no, it's not what you're thinking. So, sit back, because we're unraveling a saga filled with tension, drama, and the possible endgame of one of F1's most electrifying drivers. Let's dive right into the chaos surrounding Max Verstappen. His team, once a powerhouse on the circuit, now seems to be in a state of freefall. Their performance has plummeted, leaving fans and pundits scratching their heads. And it's not just technical problems, there's a constant state of unrest within the team, almost like a civil war. Verstappen's teammate prefers a car setup that completely clashes with what Max is comfortable with. This has thrown the team into a whirlpool of confusion, leaving them unable to find the perfect balance. As a result, they've not only lost pace but also lost ground in the Constructors' Championship. But it goes deeper than just technical issues. Many believe that the real problem lies in Red Bull's management. Their attempts to accommodate two vastly different driving styles have backfired, causing the team to mismanage their driver lineup. And in the midst of all this turmoil, Max finds himself unable to speak his mind freely. With every word he utters scrutinized, he's watching one title slip away, while another is chipped away by teams that simply seem to be doing a better job. Now, things are escalating. The FIA's strict rules have started limiting Max's ability to express his frustrations, leaving him feeling boxed in. At the Singapore Grand Prix race, Max openly protested his punishment for calling his car's balance fricked, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. This situation has reached a boiling point where it could potentially push Max right out of the sport. So why is Verstappen's career hanging by a thread? Stick around, because what comes next could change everything you thought you knew about his future in Formula One. Now, let's explore why things have gotten so tense for Verstappen. Imagine being at the pinnacle of your career, only to find yourself restricted in how you can express your frustrations. Max, who has always been known for speaking his mind, now feels like he's being muzzled. At the Singapore Grand Prix, things took a sharp turn. Max, fed up with how his car was performing, described its balance in a way that didn't sit well with the FIA. His exact words were considered too harsh, landing him in hot water with the sport's governing body. And here's the tricky part: Max isn't just dealing with a struggling car or a complicated team dynamic, he's fighting against a system that he believes is trying to silence him. After the Singapore incident, he voiced his concerns, hinting that the FIA's current stance might be the final push that leads to his exit from the sport. For a champion like Verstappen, being told what he can or cannot say about his own performance seems absurd. It's not just about winning races, it's about being able to show emotion and passion, qualities that have always made him a fan favorite. But the story doesn't end there. What really stings for Max is seeing other teams gaining ground. While Red Bull seems to be unraveling, competitors are seizing every opportunity, leaving him frustrated as he watches titles slip away. The frustration is palpable, and with every race the pressure builds. The question on everyone's mind now is, how much more can he take? Now, let's peel back another layer of this story. Max Verstappen is only 26 years old, yet he's already considered an F1 veteran. In theory, he should have his best years still ahead of him, right? But the irony is, his peak years might not be spent in Formula One. Throughout his career, Max has been very clear he's not here for the drama and regulations that seem to suffocate his passion for racing. He has always hinted at his desire to explore other racing disciplines, like his dream of winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But here's where it gets interesting: the weekend at Singapore might have been the tipping point for Max. It's one thing to deal with on-track chaos, and even internal team conflicts. He's shown he's more than capable of handling those. But off-track politics? That seems to be where he draws the line. when the FIA clamped down on his right to express himself, it hit a nerve. You could see it in his words, where he said these kinds of things definitely decide my future as well. When you can't be yourself, or you have to deal with these silly issues, it's tiring. Imagine being a world champion and feeling like you're trapped in a system that doesn't let you be who you are. Max made it clear if this continues, it might be better not to speak at all. And that's the crux of the issue. Being silenced is not what any sport should be about. Racing is raw emotion, passion, and authenticity, all things Max embodies. And now, with the FIA's actions, he's being pushed into a corner. Could this really be the breaking point for a driver who has so much more to give? What makes this situation even more intriguing is how others in the sport are reacting. Max isn't standing alone in this storm. Other drivers have also found the situation with the FIA to be downright ridiculous. Some of them even laughed at the idea that drivers have to watch their language so closely. It's worth noting that Formula One is one of the few sports where we hear everything a competitor says during a race, yet the recent punishment Max received was not for his on-track remarks but during media duties. This has only added fuel to the fire, sparking debate about how drivers should be allowed to express their frustrations. The Grand Prix Drivers Association (GPDA) is now stepping in to support Max. For those unfamiliar, the GPDA acts like a union for F1 drivers, ensuring their voices are heard. Alex Wurz, the current chairman, was quick to rally behind Verstappen. He expressed that the penalty handed to Max was not just harsh but excessive, calling for internal resolution with the FIA to avoid public spats. Personally, I always believe, and we at the GPDA try to solve issues quietly within the sport, Wurz said, underlining the importance of unity in resolving conflicts. But here's where things take a darker turn. FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem decided to make things even messier with his remarks. He drew a comparison between F1 and rap music, implying a need for civility in motorsport, which did not sit well with many, including Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton perceived these comments as racially insensitive, adding yet another layer of tension to an already volatile situation. Now, let's dive into how Ben Sulayem's remarks stirred the pot even further. In what many saw as an attempt to lecture drivers on appropriate behavior, Ben Sulayem stated, "We have to differentiate between our sport and rap music. We are not rappers." His words caused an uproar, especially from Lewis Hamilton, who felt the comment carried a racially charged undertone. After all, rap music often stems from black culture, and implying that F1 drivers should be more civilized compared to rappers struck a nerve. It was a classic case of stepping on a landmine, making an already delicate situation even worse. But let's circle back to Max. Despite the controversy swirling around, Hamilton chose to support Verstappen, saying, "This is the pinnacle of the sport. Mistakes are made. I hope Max doesn't hold back." It's clear that even rivals can recognize when the sport is being choked by rules that limit authenticity. And that's the crux of Max's current struggle. Historically, Formula One drivers have been far from being gentlemen in the polished sense. Icons like James Hunt, Alain Prost, and Kimi Räikkönen were known for their raw and often unfiltered personalities, which is precisely what gave the sport its edge. In recent years, drivers have become more brand-friendly, partly thanks to Schumacher's example of what a peak athlete should be. However, trying to take this sanitization to the extreme risks stripping the sport of its emotional power. It's not just about cars racing around a track, it's about the people inside them, their passions, and their stories. And if Max can't be true to who he is, then what does that mean for the future of F1? So what does this all mean for Max's future in the sport? It seems like everything is funneling down to one pivotal point. Verstappen's patience is running thin. He's made it clear that he won't tolerate this type of environment for long. These latest controversies have only accelerated his doubts about staying in Formula One for the long term. After all, he's already achieved so much. Max has 3 world championships under his belt, and at just 26, he's already hinted at exploring other forms of racing. Remember his desire to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans? That dream is still very much alive. The big question now is whether Max can find a way to leave the sport on his own terms. If the situation with the FIA calms down, and if the Grand Prix Drivers Association can successfully smooth things over behind the scenes, there might be a chance for Max to stick around a bit longer. But if things keep escalating, don't be surprised if he decides to walk away, even if it's not immediately. Interestingly, there's already speculation about how he could bow out of F1. If Red Bull continues to struggle and the drama persists, there is one team that could potentially offer Max a fresh start and one more championship shot. Aston Martin has been whispered about as a possible destination for him. Why? Well, they're gearing up for the new regulations with a team that includes familiar faces, including engineers he's worked with before. Plus, Aston Martin has a World Endurance Championship car, which fits perfectly with Max's future ambitions. Let's dive into that Aston Martin theory a bit more. If Red Bull's self-destruction continues, moving to Aston Martin might check all the right boxes for Max. Think about it, Aston Martin has the potential to hit the ground running with the new regulations, giving him a competitive car right out of the gate. They have a team of engineers and designers that Max is already familiar with, including some who previously worked under Red Bull's Adrian Newey. This could make the transition smoother and allow Max to focus solely on doing what he does best, winning. And then there's the wild card, Lawrence Stroll's seemingly limitless budget. With Aston Martin's resources, they could make a deal that includes not just an F1 seat, but also a clear path for Max to race in other categories like the World Endurance Championship. It aligns perfectly with his dream of winning Le Mans alongside his father. The idea of a multidisciplinary racing contract could be the key that unlocks Max's decision to switch teams and eventually step away from Formula One altogether. Of course, this is all speculation, but it does paint a compelling picture. We could see Max fight for one last championship before leaving F1 on a high note. It's a story that would undoubtedly capture the attention of motorsport fans worldwide. And frankly, it might be the kind of ending that suits Max, leaving on his own terms, after taking on new challenges and proving that he can win in more than just F1. He might go for one last shot at glory before moving on to new racing challenges. It's not about quitting, it's about finding the freedom to pursue his passion his way. Whatever he decides, it's a reminder of the human element in racing. Beneath the helmet, there's a person with dreams and limits. Will Max craft a legendary final chapter in F1 or quietly step into a new racing world? Share your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching.